Welcome everyone to our first webcast in the series where you'll get the opportunity to ask those important questions that you otherwise never get to ask. I'm Danielle from Your Baby Scan, and today's episode is Ask the Midwife. I'm joined here today by Hazel, a qualified practicing midwife, who also runs Nurture Nest, a company providing private and very educational antenatal classes. Welcome, Hazel. It is great to see you and have you here with us today over a brew.
Thank you very much.
Which we had to make ourselves.
Yeah.
So we've heard great things about the classes that you run, but I'm sure viewers are thinking you get antenatal classes in the NHS.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to tell us a little bit about what makes Nurture Nest different to what you get with the NHS?
Yeah, I think obviously the NHS classes are fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not dulling down the fact that they are great. However, there's so many people that want to book onto those classes. And I think, especially since COVID, the amount of antenatal classes privately has reduced. So a lot of people are trying to book onto the NHS classes and there's just not enough space. I know that from one of the units that I worked at, we did antenatal classes once a month. Mm-hmm. And I just think, trying to book everyone from a certain area on that one class once a month is really difficult. And it's sort of running from sort of 10 till 3. You get loads and loads of information, which is absolutely great, but it's a very booked quickly class. So to get a spot on there sometimes can be a bit difficult. I personally love doing education. I loved doing that class. So I thought, let's try and do something by myself. Mm-hmm. So that's why I set up Nurture Nest, because I just love the antenatal education side of midwifery. Love being able to educate people, new parents that just want to sort of refresh and things like that.
Mm-hmm. I suppose with the NHS as well, like you say, the big massive groups, you're not getting that personal midwife service, you're not getting the one-to-one care, and like you say, there's a lot of information being thrown at you and you're going to go away and go, whoa, I've got 100 million questions.
I think sometimes you need that time to absorb what you're being told. Mm-hmm. So the classes that I run, I tend to run, so if I was doing an individual class just with the parents, I would do it over 2 or 3 sessions, whichever I think would suit them the best, and do sort of 2-hour sessions. So 6 hours altogether, but split it up into either 2 or 3 sessions. I think it just absorbs better. That way as well, you can come back to me on the second session and ask any questions you've got. You're not just sort of like, it's not just me talking at you for...
Here's the information, I go away and have your baby. At least you're there on a
and then also,
basis.
If anybody's booking classes with me, they can also contact me at any point through WhatsApp, Instagram, whatever, and ask me questions. That's part of the service.
You're available. Brill. So we've known you for a long time, from way back when you were training and here working with us bloods. So it's great to hear how you're putting that into every day and obviously nurturing the Nurture Nest. So we've been gathering questions this week that we'd like to ask you, and hopefully we can get some good answers. And I think we are on live stream as well, so if people have got any questions, make sure you comment them down below and we can ask Hazel live, and then we can go from there. So the first question that we have came from a patient in the clinic recently. A little bit controversial at the moment, but let's discuss it out. So it was, do I have to give birth in a hospital with doctors all around? So they wanted to give birth at home with their closest family near, whereas a special life moment for them to share. The question is, do I have to give birth in a hospital?
Not necessarily. Obviously, every woman's got a choice of where they want to birth their baby. Obviously, such a special moment as well. So, that special time, you want to be comfortable where you are. A lot of people do choose home births. But you've also got to weigh up the risk with the benefits. So, if you are pregnant, you've had your pregnancy sort of categorised as a high risk pregnancy in comparison to a low risk pregnancy, there's lots of discussions that have got to go ahead in order to make sure it's safe. So, when you're speaking to midwives, when you're speaking to your community midwives, just having those discussions so that you're fully educated on all the benefits and all the risks and making a good decision for yourself and your baby. If you are classified as higher risk, you will be having those discussions with your consultants, with your consultant midwives, as to whether it is safe for you to to birth at home, which if you are higher risk, there is a reason behind that. So obviously, we're not going to sort of promote home birth if we think that it's unsafe for you and your baby. That's why we're here. We're not going to give you, information that would make you go away and think, I'll be safe, when if it's not safe, we're not going to tell you it's safe to birth at home. But there's lots and lots of opportunities to discuss with consultants and with your midwives as to whether it is safe. Another option, if for instance you're higher risk pregnancy but you really want that home birth experience, you could speak to a consultant midwife and see if it's safe to birth on like a midwifery led unit.
So it's not as medical as a hospital.
That means that you're in a hospital environment. If anything was to go wrong throughout your labour, you're there, you're able to be taken to delivery suite, if need be. Sometimes if you're higher risk, but there could be any reason why you're classified as higher risk. But if you've had those discussions with the consultant midwife or the consultants and they're happy for you to go on to the midwifery led unit, then that is a discussion that is made. It's presented in your notes as well, so that when you come in labour, we are aware that you can go into the midwifery led unit. And also if they decide, that it would be really risky for you and the baby to be on that lower risk unit, you can go, so some units have like birth rooms with birth pools and things in, so that if you are higher risk, you can utilise it, but in a safe environment. So on the higher risk unit, but you may be able to utilise a pool if that's what you want and things like that. So lots of different sort of options that can be discussed.
It's about making an informed choice, I think, isn't
it's all about
getting
informed
the information.
Choice, And if you are low risk, very low risk, home birth is absolutely a gorgeous option. It's fully dependent on what you want as well, isn't it? It's fully dependent on how you feel about a home birth. A lot of people just think that they would like to be at home. If you think about when you're comfortable, oxytocin levels are at the highest, which means that your labour goes really well when you're in a comfortable environment. But some people might want to be in that sort of home birth setting, but in a hospital environment, so they would go for the lower risk unit. Midwife.
So there are options available.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So the next question we've had has been quite popular. Let me just... birth plans. Yes, birth plans. So I created one with my first child, and I think it was set in stone that was my birth plan and that's how things went. Now they didn't go anywhere near that, and it got thrown out the window, and I was probably quite disappointed that it didn't go. So with the other 3 children, I didn't have a birth plan at all. I don't even remember writing one. So how useful are they, and how important are they really?
I mean, from a midwife's point of view, it's lovely when you come in labour and you have got a birth plan. We can read it, we can see what you want, we can see what what you've researched yourself, as well as what we've discussed with you at sort of your birth plan appointment. However, I think when you come in and you've got a really sort of long-winded, quite detailed birth plan, and you are sort of convinced that's what I want this, I want that, there's got to be some kind of flexibility there, because babies do what they want in labour. We do not lead the way through that labour, the babies lead that way. And I think sometimes things have to change, and if you've got lots and lots of things on your birth plan that you are absolutely, I want that to be the way. For instance, I don't want any pain relief, I only want gas and air. And then you come in labour and you are absolutely not okay on gas and air. Then when you look back at that birth plan, you're going to think to yourself, I wish I'd have just done it with gas and air.
Researched.
I wish, and you're going to feel like those things that you wanted in the birth plan didn't happen whilst you were in labour. And you can also almost sort of like mourn your birth plan, because you think, that's how I wanted it, but it didn't go that way. Or, for instance, if you're on a low risk unit, you're having you're in the pool, everything's going well, but then sort of baby's heart rate starts to dip, and we decide to move you up to the higher risk unit, because that's what we would obviously do for safety reasons. Then looking back on your birth plan, you might have put that you want to only stay on the low risk unit and things, and we've got to weigh up the risk with what we're doing at the time, with how the baby's responding to how mum's responding. Sometimes you've just got to have that degree of flexibility. It's what I would say is absolutely write a birth plan, with whatever you want on there, but have that flexibility to know that things might change.
That it actually might not go that way. That would be your preferred choice, but it might not go that
absolutely,
way. Okay, brilliant. So this next one seems to be a worry for both first-time mums and mums who are expecting their second children. We'd all agree that breast is best, and there appears to be a lot of pressure on mums to breastfeed, but babies don't always latch on. So the question from one of our mums is that I'm worried my baby won't latch on. Is formula harmful? Harmful. I think sometimes it's drummed into us so much that breastfeeding and breast milk is the way to go, that people then maybe get stressed and worried about getting the baby to latch on, and then are scared then to move on to formula.
I think it's a massive worry for anybody having a baby. Everybody's got this quote's been going for I don't know how many years, breast is best. This has been years and years and years of people saying breast is best. However, my opinion on it is, sometimes you hear this quote, fed is best. If you are struggling to breastfeed your baby, especially, in those first few days of
we're tired, we've had labour, we've got hormones,
trying to recover. Sometimes breastfeeding just doesn't happen for everyone, and that doesn't mean to say that you are not absolutely smashing being
everything else.
It's just sometimes it doesn't come as naturally to everybody. Sometimes babies just don't behave the way that we want them to behave when it comes to breastfeeding. And I just think that you've got to really sort of take a step back sometimes and think, is this breastfeeding journey working for me, for the baby, and for the family? Because sometimes, my own experience being with my third child, I wasn't planning to breastfeed her. She was going to be formula fed, and then a day in, all I wanted to do was breastfeed her. So my midwife said to me, well, breastfeed her then. So I did. I could not keep up with that child. All she wanted to do was feed. But I had a 3 and a 2-year-old, a 4 and a 3-year-old as well. So, breastfeeding for me, I breastfed her for about a week, and then she went back onto formula because I couldn't keep up with her. She was very hungry. She, those night feeds as well, she was up, down, up, down, up, down, and I had 2 other children to look after. So for me, I just took a step back and I thought, you know what, formula feeding is going to be the way forward for me. And you've just got to work out what's best for yourselves. There is nothing in formula feeds that is harmful, as in, they wouldn't be selling formula if it was harmful to your babies. We know that the risks, the benefits of breastfeeding being that you've got that closeness with your baby, you've got that extra bonding. But that doesn't mean to say that when you're formula feeding a baby with a bottle, you can't bond with them. You're still up close and personal with them. You're still bonding with them. We do have a lot of research out there that shows that if you breastfeed your baby, you're passing good antibodies on and things like that. But, again, it's just a case of finding what's best for you, navigating in those first few weeks whether breastfeeding is working or whether breastfeeding is not working. And if it's not, I would absolutely say do not feel bad if it doesn't work out. You are doing the best thing for your baby by thinking breastfeeding isn't working, let's move on to what will work. And that might be just bottle feeding artificially, or you could even try breastfeeding as in expressing, if that's going to be, something that works better. Again, this can all be discussed in birth planning, breastfeeding workshops, things like that. But yeah.
Brilliant. So let me just see where we're up to with these questions. So I think our mums are thinking about how they can give the best start in the life for their babies. And here's another question thinking along the same lines. So during labour, how can I manage the pain?
Okay. Yeah, so like we were saying with regards to the pain relief options, when you're looking at a birth plan, you're going to be looking at what you think would be the best option for you. If you've done it before, you kind of know what's worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I was in labour, gas and air was the best thing since sliced bread. It worked for me very,
Yes,
very
it didn't
well.
work for me at all.
Yeah, so sometimes it works for some and sometimes it doesn't work for others. Again, it's weighing up what you think would be beneficial for you, what you are willing to try as well for pain relief.
So, I was adamant I wasn't having a spinal.
Yeah.
But I think probably looking back now, a spinal probably would have been the right option.
Yeah.
But I didn't know enough about it.
Yeah. And that's what I mean about that flexibility as well. So on your birth plan, if you'd have put down absolutely not willing to have an epidural, but then it came to it and actually that could have really benefited you, then you might have looked back at that birth plan and thought, well, I said I didn't want an epidural and I had one. Yeah. And that can make you feel a bit sad because that's not what you planned on.
Mm-hmm. Mine was more the consultant said, you're not coping with this, you need a spinal. But I had it in my head that I was not having the spinal. Yeah. And in the end, he just agreed to a general. And he was just like, just shut her up and let's knock her out. But I think if I'd have known more about a spinal and not just listened to horror stories, that maybe I might have been a bit more, do you know what? It's an informed choice. I know about it. I know what the risks are. I know what the benefits are. Yeah. That maybe I probably would have gone down that route and probably could have had a natural birth because I didn't have a natural birth. I obviously had a section under general. So recovery and things like that were a lot harder. So I think, like you say, being open to different pain relief is knowing about them all, not just saying, oh yeah, gas and air, I'm the best mum in the world taking just gas and air and dead strong, but actually it's not easy, is it really? It's
not at all. And I think so with your pain relief options, my advice would be to start low. So start on your gas and air. Obviously when you ring into triage, you might be told, try some paracetamol at home and a bath. That's your standard, your standard response, isn't it, for when you're in those early stages of labour. But my advice would always be to start low. So start on your Antonox, see whether it works for you, and if it doesn't work for you, then we can think about something else. So you've got like your diamorphine, which you'll still feel almost like you are getting the pain still, but you can get a bit of a relief from it. So you can have a little bit of a sleep. So you'll find that you're a bit sort of drowsy. You'll feel like you can sleep throughout the contractions. Then you'll wake up, you have a contraction, go back for a little sleep again. Just giving you that tiny break, taking the edge off, but you'll still feel the pain of the contractions. If that's not working for you, obviously there's other options, as in what we were talking about epidural wise, and it's just about getting all of those choices explained to you at that birth plan appointment that you have at normally 36 weeks within the NHS is a really important conversation with regards to pain relief options, because if you're not aware of your pain relief options, you're not going to know what you're going to want. A lot of people come in labour and they're not aware of what is available to them. If they've for instance missed that 36-week appointment, or it's been rearranged and then they've not had a full birth plan appointment, then you're not aware what you're available to have.
Is that something you would go over in classes?
Pain absolutely relief? Yeah
because again we didn't have any classes.
Go through all your pain relief options. I mean, a lot of people in the early stages of labour love like a TENS machine. I think a TENS machine is amazing in your first stages of labour, in those really early stages where it's just really niggly, you're at home, it's on and off, you don't know whether you're having Braxton Hicks or whether it's true labour, and you're sort of a bit just niggly. It's just really, really helpful in just helping your body to adjust to those contractions in the early stages. So things like that, but we would go over that completely in full so that you're fully informed of what's available.
Okay, bro. Keep going. We've done that bit. Keep going. All right. Okay. Yeah, we're there. So our last question that we have is related to what we were just talking about. So what is the difference between labour and Braxton Hicks, and how can you tell the difference?
So do you remember having Braxton Hicks?
I think I probably do with Luke. I had quite a lot of UTIs near the end, and I went in a few times thinking I was in labour, and they just said it was part of the UTI and Braxton Hicks. So I think it was like I don't think it was anything near like what labour was like. And
so Braxton Hicks can feel really, like I say, like really niggly, almost like you kind of think to yourself, oh my God, is this it? Because it feels like almost just like squeezing, feeling around your tummy area, like you feel like it goes really, really hard for a few minutes or a minute, and then it just releases, and you think, what was that? Because obviously, especially first time around, you do not know what to expect. You can't, as a mum of three, I can't really fully, and as a mum of three and a midwife, I can't fully explain to somebody what a contraction feels like, because you can't until you've felt it, can you? You know, as a mum yourself, you can't fully explain. You can say it really bloody hurts, but you can't explain exactly what it feels like. Until you feel it, you don't really know. But Braxton Hicks, I would say it almost feels like period pain, like a heavier period pain, and then it feels almost it like I say, like a tightening, a little bit of a tightening for a minute or so, and then a release. But it's not necessarily painful. So like when you're having true contractions, they're going to be longer lasting. They're going to come hopefully frequently, whereas Braxton Hicks can be all over the place. So you can have you can experience Braxton Hicks one day, like 2 in a day, and then the next day you might get 7 of them, and you'll think, oh my God, is this it? And then they'll completely go away again. It's just that preparation for your body. It's preparing the body for labour. It's giving you those sort of practice contractions. And then when you do start to have contractions, you will start to almost think to yourself, it does feel different. And that's that cue to think it is not a Braxton Hicks.
When it starts to last a bit longer.
So if you get in your contractions where you're thinking, feels different to Braxton Hicks, it's lasting longer, it's say lasting for a minute and it's lasting for a full minute, and it feels a little bit painful, or it feels like it's becoming more painful, then that's your sort of cue to think it might be labour pains rather than actual Braxton Hicks. And it's going to be associated with other things. So sometimes you might find that you've had a show and then you're having a few Braxton Hicks, and you're thinking, oh, I wonder what's happening. You can have a show a week before you even do anything. It's Braxton Hicks, you show, all that kind of thing. That's all your practice ready for when real labour starts. And then when you start with those contractions, you're looking out for longer lasting, frequency being, you might have 3 to 4 in 10 minutes. 3 to 4 in 10 minutes, contractions wise, is what we're looking for. So 3 to 4 in 10 minutes, long lasting, a good sort of pattern to them. And also with contractions, you can't really speak through a contraction, whereas with Braxton Hicks, you can be laughing, you can be joking, you can just be thinking, what was that tightening? With a contraction, you're normally taking your breathers, you're breathing through it, you're not
stopping you in your tracks.
Yeah. It's like when you're ringing into triage, if you think you're in labour, you're going to have a conversation with a midwife over the phone, and you're going to say, I think I'm starting with labour. I've been having so many contractions in 10 minutes. And if you've got a contraction while you're on the phone to them on the triage line, and you have to stop and you're breathing through that contraction, that is a true contraction.
Okay, that's a good tip.
The worst thing you can do is put your partner on, and for him to say, she's having 7 contractions in 10 minutes, which isn't right. We need to speak to you. We need to hear what's going on with you. And if we can hear you having that contraction over the phone, it's so good for us, because we know that is a true contraction. If you're not talking through it, you're having to take that breather. That is a contraction.
Okay, bro, that's a really good tip. So cool. So I've got a pile of questions that we've been asked in clinic as well. So we'll do one more. Let me just have a look through them and see if we can. Oh, so we've been asked that one. We've done that one about the pain relief one.
Any other questions? We can always
we can always do this again.
Yeah.
So we'll go with this one, I think. Where was it? It was about Dad. That was a really nice one to involve Dad, because dads sometimes get a bit kicked to the side. So when can a baby start to recognise Dad's voice inside the womb?
So from really early on, babies recognise voices from outside the womb.
Okay.
Mums and dads' voices are going to be the voices that they hear all of the time. So when, from when you start to feel baby moving, that's the time when you're going to start thinking of, well, this is what I say to people in clinic, is when you get to that, babies can start moving anytime between 16 and 24 weeks. It's completely normal if you've not felt movements at 16 weeks, especially with your first baby. But when you start to feel that movement, you start to feel like that bonding is starting already. So it's a really good time, I think, from 16 weeks to be speaking to your bump and your baby. And same for dad. So although it might feel a bit stupid at first speaking to, because you won't have a real bump at 16 weeks, but from that time period, I think it's really important to just start with that communication. Just
maybe get a book or something.
Speaking to
read
your
the
bump,
book.
just being in tune with your bump. I think I always say to women as well, when you're just at home, you're not really doing anything, just be talking to your baby. Like, they'll respond, as in they'll be able to hear it, although they're inside the womb, so it's a lot muffled, a lot more muffled than it would be on the outside. But when they are born, they will recognise mum and dad's voices, absolutely.
Straight away,
And it'll be probably strange for them because it's really strong because they're outside of the womb, but they will still recognise mum and dad's voice because that's what they've heard for all of that time. So I think what I normally say to my women is, even before you feel movements, just start talking to your bump, your baby, from the word go, really. Just get that really, it's part of bonding, and for dad as well. So if you lay on the sofa together watching something on telly, you can just be chatting. You don't even need to be talking to the baby, just chatting away, and they will be able to hear it from very early on. Actually,
a funny story, actually, when we hadn't been open long, and there was a lady that came in, and the baby just wouldn't move for the scan, and she put what was it, Under the Sea on, from Little Mermaid. The bump went crazy. But then she stopped it and the bump stopped, and then she put it on again and it started moving. It was mad. So they obviously can hear and recognise that.
That recognition is from so early on. And like I'm saying, when you're starting to feel movements and things like that, it almost comes naturally to start talking to your baby.
Because it's a bit more real then, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, 100%.
Real. Cool. So that is us with our questions. So I think that chat's been really informative. Thank you so much. So basically, even for me, having 4 children, I've learned quite a lot today, and then obviously there's some information there that our viewers can go away with, and hopefully we can come on some of your classes, and maybe we can do this again and get some more questions going.
Absolutely.
A little channel going. So thank you so much if you've joined us today, and we will be back soon with another episode. Bye.